Yeah, I mean, whatever I can do as a true freshman to kind of help out the team. That's what I like to do. I haven't looked at any individual awards or anything like that. My biggest thing is just obviously to be in the playoffs. That would be awesome for
Yeah.
K-State, the team, everything like that. But for me, honestly, my biggest goal is just making an impact somewhere.
Hello and welcome to the Verbal Commitment Podcast here on the Kansas City Sports Network, brought to you by Home Field Apparel. I'm Kevin Flaherty, and I'm here, as always, with my good friend Ryan Wallace. And we're talking about the world of local recruiting, from Kansas and Kansas City prospects to the college classes at Kansas, Kansas State, and Missouri. We have a repeat guest here on the show this week. We always love it when Kansas State signee Linkon Cure can make it on, and we wanted to catch up with the five-star tight end before he makes his way to Manhattan here in a few days, so stay tuned for that. As always, if you like what you're hearing, comment below, tell your friends about us, subscribe, hit that like button, or leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple or Spotify. All those things help us with the algorithm, help us to grow the show, and help put us in front of more people like you. Ryan, we have another alarm this week.
Let's do it.
For those of you who are new to the show, that means that one of the local schools picked up a commitment. In this case, there's 2 this week, and we're going to start with Kansas State adding to its 2026 class with Oliver Miller, an offensive lineman from Colorado powerhouse Cherry Creek. He makes the second offensive lineman to pick the Wildcats in the last 30 days. What did you think about the addition?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great win by Brian LePack. I mean, he continues to show that, even though Connor Riley, has moved on to the Dallas Cowboys, that, offensive line is still going to be a strength, I think, of, how this program goes out and recruits and gets good players, right? I think guys that have pretty good floors and a lot of potential. I mean, with Oliver Miller, an honorable mention All-State selection last year as a junior at Cherry Creek. And I mean, Cherry Creek is a renowned program in the state of Colorado. I mean, they went down and played Highland Park in Texas, I think to open the season, or like week 2 last year, and beat up on I think a 2-loss Highland Park team when it was all said and done last season. So, I mean, a really good program. That he goes against guys that, arguably maybe in practice are better than some of the guys that he sees on Friday nights. But I do think it's interesting, like, he doesn't necessarily play on tape like as big as maybe he's listed. So I do wonder a little bit maybe about how he's listed. There's that. But then on top of that, I think the strength right now for Oliver that bodes well for Kansas State is I think he's tremendous in the run game, dominant at the second level. I think he's really strong. And he's got a number of different clips online that will show just how athletic he is. I mean, the box jumps that he's doing, the bench presses, the squats. I mean, some freaky things that this kid's doing for an offensive tackle. And yet at the same time, he's mobile. You see how he gets to the second level. But I also think that there are times when there's maybe a tendency to want to torque guys, instead of kind of moving his feet. Or there's a tendency where maybe in pass pro, as we always hear from Chris Gomez, it's like, there's some things that maybe Brian LePack will fine tune a little bit in terms of maybe it feels like he's catching guys or kind of falling into guys where maybe that mobility is there, but the lateral quickness might need some tightening, right? Or might need a little bit more oomph and some firepower. Maybe K-State strength and conditioning team can do that. But all that to say, a really good get, Kevin. Like, I'm not trying to poo-poo on the kid. I'm just saying, I think as an offensive tackle, there's still going to be some things that they can develop. As an offensive guard, I think he could be, I don't want to say a ready now made guard, but certainly a guy that could maybe see his way onto the field a little bit sooner.
We talked when we were kind of planning for the show about how it's pretty easy to trust in Kansas State's offensive line evaluations and their abilities to develop guys like Miller at this point. Miller is Kansas State's 4th commitment in this 2026 class as the Wildcats start to build some momentum heading into that summer camp circuit. Kansas also added a player, but for 2025 in Garden City Community College offensive tackle Antonio Wilson. Originally from Jones High School in Orlando, Florida, Wilson will have 3 years of eligibility with the Jayhawks. What's Kansas getting in this JUCO product?
Well, I mean, from the best thing that I can tell from, the limited stuff that I saw of Antonio, I mean, again, kind of a work in progress guy.
Sure.
And I think it's key that you mentioned the eligibility left, that, we still find ourselves, me and you, but, fans included, finding ourselves caught in the old days, right? And I think Bill Snyder kind of spoiled us in the state of Kansas with that, where you see junior college and you start thinking like, if not this year, next year. And then you kind of start thinking back to whether it's K-State, KU, Missouri, I guess, had Javen Richardson. He came to mind because I started digging a little bit on this, Kevin. But like, when was the last time that the local schools had a junior college player that came and delivered rather quickly, particularly a junior college offensive lineman? I mean, it's been a minute. I know, speaking from Kansas State, and you can answer this for KU, I mean, might have to go back to Noah Johnson, Butler County Community Project, that was a center. And there have been others that have gone through K-State, and for one reason or another, just hasn't worked out. I think with Antonio, there's something there that KU saw that they liked, because there are other guys that earned all league honors from his team, and he wasn't one of them. But yet KU staff saw something in the tape, right? They talked around. There's something there that they like, that they feel like they can develop and, hopefully get him, in the mix here in a year or two. So again, I think, you're always looking for guys that, have the upside, but, again, developmental, right? And so I think when it comes to KU and K-State, they're both kind of looking for guys that maybe have the floor, that also have the ceiling, and they're trusting that their coaching staff can tap into that.
Derek Paulsa, another really good developmental offensive line guy. He'll have 3 years in this case. Kansas really went out to add some age and talent to that offensive tackle room in this 2025 cycle. Brought in Jack Tanner from the spring, who had played at Tulsa, adding Enrique Cruz Jr. from Syracuse in the post-spring portal cycle, and now Wilson from the junior college ranks. After a 1 week absence, we are back with our player profiles, where we take a look at one player from Kansas and one player from Kansas City, Missouri, who are maybe under the radar a little bit, but have attracted our attention here on Verbal Commitment. Ryan, you're on the Missouri side this week, and my understanding is you're picking somebody that we've been fans of for a while, but we got to see in person here recently.
Well, I was going to say it was kind of it was overdue. I gave him kind of a minor shout out in our last show of like a guy that could have been one of our flash performers, arguably could have been. And so then kind of coming into this week, I just thought, let's dedicate an entire section of the show to Peyton Hatfield. And so that's the direction I'm going out at Lee Summit High School. And you see there, diminutive in size, 5'8", 155 pounds. But he is running track right now. So, I mean, it is tough to kind of, for a lot of these guys to put on the weight when they're 2-3 sport athletes. So I think with time, the weight and stuff will come on. And I think when you dive into the film, you're going to see a player that's worth maybe giving a little bit of extra look to, because he is dynamic. The way that he splits the defense here, you really get to see the speed. A guy that hit almost 21 on his velo fly. He's a 10.94 100-meter dash kid, and that shows up on tape. 34-inch vertical as well. I just think that he's very slippery, and he's a guy that can hit the boosters really quick. And I mean, you see, the make you miss a lot. In this clip, you'll see the 34-inch vert kind of come in handy for a little guy. But, a first-team All-State returner last year, but I think maybe he isn't given enough credit at times for where he is as a receiver right now. He had 72 career catches and averaging a career for his career nearly 16 yards per catch. So I think that this is a kid that, again, we talked about it last show. There are some guys that, you get caught up looking at the size, and let's be honest, like, is Peyton Hatfield the type of guy that's going to end up going to a KU or a K-State? Probably not. I'm not saying never, because crazy things can happen. But I think at the same time, there comes a time when there are some schools that probably should be giving him a little bit deeper look. And Kevin, for the record, Missouri Western is the only offer on the table right now. And that's kind of what I'm talking about is based on what we saw at the varsity combine, you're kind of going, there should be more going on here. Because again, I think he's dynamic. I think, his twin Preston gets, I think, a lot of the attention in terms of the amount of ball time that he gets, the touches that he gets as a running back. But I think Peyton, athletically, at least on that day that we were there, kind of tested a little bit better. And I think, Preston can go both ways. I think Peyton might be able to go both ways. And if not, he can, and bar minimum, he can be a return guy for you. So the good news, I think, for Peyton is if he were to make it out of this summer and there aren't more schools knocking on the door, you look at that Lee Summit schedule, right? At Liberty, week 1, at Blue Springs. Then they come home for their first home game. Oh, Blue Springs South. And then they go on the road at Liberty North. That's the first 4 weeks. They went 8-3 last year, lost twice to Lee Summit North. So that rivalry game will be circled on the calendar this year for the Tigers. But I think that those first 4 games, we always talk about the coaches that want to see, let me see your first 4 weeks, or let me see your first half of the season as a senior. That's tape that could really go a long way, I think, for Peyton Hatfield, not just because of what he's going to show himself capable of doing, but he can say, look at who I was doing it against.
I 100% agree. And flipping to the Sunflower State, I'm going to head to the state capital and Topeka Hayden athlete Connor Hanukkah. And athlete's a pretty good descriptor here, Ryan. Connor popped onto the scene as a sophomore when Hayden's starting quarterback Jet Wallmeyer went down with an injury, and he helped lead the Wildcats to the state championship game as a quarterback. Last year, Wallmeyer returned, and Hanukkah continued to work at quarterback at practice, but then went out and became a playmaker at receiver with over 400 yards receiving. And with Wallmeyer now graduating, expect Hanukkah to be back at quarterback this year, where he'll have a chance to impress. But he's also pretty intriguing as a frame guy with athletic skill. Let's go ahead and start running that tape. You see him out here at wide receiver and the receiver pass. And here's why it's interesting to think of him as a quarterback. He throws a great deep ball as a thrower. He's also somebody, though, that you watch him in more traditional wide receiver highlights. He's got that big frame, catches the ball really naturally away from his body. And if you look at, of course, his ability to block it as well, he's somebody that I think we're not entirely sure what he's going to be because of that frame, because he's going to be playing quarterback. Of course, if Connor Hanukkah's name sounds familiar, he's the younger brother of current Kansas tight end Deshaun Hanukkah. And speaking with Coach Arnold over there at Hayden, he said he believes the two were roughly the same size at the same point. Deshaun wound up growing into his listed 6'6", 245-pound frame, while Connor is currently right around 190 pounds at 6'5". Of course, Deshaun went to Butler to start his career before heading to Iowa State and then now back at Kansas. Connor also plays basketball and baseball, and he's an interesting baseball kid as a pitcher with that tall frame. Has a 3-pitch mix that includes a pretty good changeup. Coach Arnold says he's a leader and a good kid as well. Ryan, I look forward to seeing him more at quarterback, but I also think that he's worth betting on for a college just as a jumbo skilled athlete at the next level.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, let's be honest, I think the last name is going to help him.
Sure.
And not just because of what the last name is, but you mentioned Deshaun has proven how his body has physically matured and developed, right? And so I think you can see that there's a path for Connor to do the same. And as you mentioned, he's a 3-sport athlete. Another one of these guys that if you let him dedicate himself in the weight room with nutrition, solely focusing on football, he could, balloon in a good way with some time. And this is a kid that, maybe a couple of years ago with that athletic profile and with the ability to maybe transition between several positions, you might have had a KU and K-State, dogging it out in a battle for like a preferred walk-on. Whether that happens or not, at least at that level, time will tell. But I'm really intrigued to see what he can be as a quarterback, knowing the arm that he has as a pitcher. But also, I love the physicality on him.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the athleticism, and I loved what you said about him catching the ball away from his body. I saw that on tape as well. But I love the physicality for a guy that's a little wiry at 6'5", 190. There's some great plays of him being, a welcoming blocker, even in, games against like Andale that are known for their physicality. There's the Hayden guy getting scrappy out there. So I definitely, I'm with you. I think that there's a reason why staff should be keeping an eye on what's going on at Hayden with Hanukkah, because I could see with some time him becoming, a similar kind of skilled jumbo guy like his brother.
We'll chat with five-star Goodland athlete and soon-to-be Kansas State tight end Linkon Cure here in a minute. But first, we wanted to tell you about our friends over at Home Field Apparel. Spring is in full swing, summer right around the corner, and you don't want to miss out on some great deals on Home Field's college gear, from t-shirts and shorts to hats. And, be able to support your favorite school, look cool doing it, and stay cool doing it. For our producer, Nick Springer, there's also Indy 500 gear for anybody else who's looking forward to that race this weekend. Kansas State, and Missouri currently have more than 40 items to choose from. So head on over to homefieldapparel.com, use the promo code link below in the description, and you can get 15% off your first order. We'll be right back.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
It's playoff time, and if you're still just watching games, then you're missing out. With Pick 6 from DraftKings, you can turn your hoops knowledge into real cash. Just make your picks, track your score, and if you hit all 6, you're looking at bigger payouts than Prize Picks flex plays. Nobody's dropping better payouts than Pick 6. Hit 6 picks, and that's 25 times your cash. And if you beat your competitor, you could be looking at a 500 times bag in your pocket. And right now, new customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry. The playoffs are on, so why not take a shot at making a little money while you're watching? Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN to play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks. Better payouts, bigger wins, only on Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Welcome back to the Verbal Commitment Podcast, sponsored by Home Field Apparel. We're joined again by five-star tight end Linkon Cure, who's wrapping up his senior year at Goodland before heading to Manhattan to play for the Kansas State Wildcats. Linkon, we always enjoy having you on the show.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Hey, Kevin, real quick, isn't this like his third appearance on the show?
Right?
3, I think, yeah.
It'd be like, what is it SNL does? When you hit the 5-time club, you get like the cigar jacket or whatever. We need to come up with something for.
We do have a home field sponsorship, so there you go. Maybe we can figure out a way to get a cigar jacket for you.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure we're going to talk plenty of football here, Linkon. But you made it back to the state title game in basketball this year. You're getting ready to head into the state track meet as defending champion in the 3A hurdles. How's your overall senior year been, and do you have any goals for sort of what you'd like to get accomplished in that state track meet?
Yeah, it's been a great senior year. It went by really fast. I mean, going day by day, it felt like a really long year. But then I think back on it, I'm like, wow, it kind of felt like football season yesterday. So, but yeah, it's been a good year. Made it to the state championship. Things didn't end out how we wanted there, but it's all right. I kind of just enjoyed the company that I had there. I learned that the best decision was just kind of being around my friends and stuff like that. It wasn't all about, just winning that state championship. So learned to kind of really appreciate that. And then yeah, goals for it's been a good track season. Goals for the state track meet are definitely get those the state records in those hurdle events, and looking really good in the 110s. 300s, I still got some work to do. I need to run a clean race in those, and but yeah, I've had a lot of good competition this year, which has been honestly awesome to have, because it definitely pushes me when I have somebody right beside me running. So yeah, it's been a good year, but yeah, I'm definitely going for some records at the state track meet.
Some college coaches will probably hate me for even allowing you to go on this spiel here, because it's become so popular and important, I think, at some places for players to try and graduate early, right? To get on campus, get yourself going. And I wanted to hear from you, though. You were really steadfast on wanting to finish out your senior year, not just for athletics, but for a number of other reasons, right? Just in the community with your friends. Give kind of your spiel on to parents or players that might be watching, of like why it isn't maybe such a bad idea to just hold off on college a little bit longer.
I think a lot of the people that do want to graduate early, they think maybe they do have a lot better chances of playing as a true freshman. Maybe they just want a little bit more development, but a lot of them think that it's a pretty sure deal that they're going to be a true freshman, stuff like that. And that's not always the case. So for me, I mean, obviously that's my goal, but I can't, be an early grad and just, expect for that to happen. But a lot of people expect for that. And then they get to the, college program, and it's not all what they think. So, so yeah, it's not obviously it's kind of like the recruitment process. Coaches, they promise you some things, other things, some it's not true, some it is true. It's kind of one of those things. But honestly, I've been told by like a lot of college coaches too that kind of just enjoy my senior year, and honestly, it's been awesome. I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly. I mean, obviously had those losses, had a lot of wins, but got to experience it with my friends that I've grown up with for a long time, and maybe that is a different situation for me being in a smaller town, and a different case for a guy that living in a big city. But for me, I really enjoyed and don't regret the choice I made.
You talked a little bit about wanting to set records at the state track meet, something that wouldn't necessarily be a record, but there aren't a whole lot of tight ends who have run 22 seconds in the 200 meters. You've done that. At last year's state title meet, you missed 21 seconds, hitting those 21s by like that much.
Mm-hmm.
Is that on your radar? Is that a goal that you have, that just sort of to be able to say, hey, I'm the fastest tight end alive?
Yeah. Last year at that state track meet, ran that 21.9 in prelims, and this year's been a little rough. I'm a lot bigger. I'm probably running at 230 to 235 right now, and so once I run and 200 is the last event for me of the day, so I'll run those 110 prelims, 200 prelims, 110 finals, 4x1, 300 hurdles, and then usually right after the 300 hurdles, there's 800s, which go by pretty fast, and then 200s. So I'm usually like I'm lining up for the 200s, and like I'm pretty tired. Like I don't know if I was like, it was a lot easier to run last year being a little less heavy, but yeah, I still got a lot of progress to make, but I'm getting faster every time. And I think once I hit that, I need to qualify tomorrow, but once I hit that state track meet, I'll have more of a break before events, and that's when I can really do what I need to do.
You kind of hinted at it there in your response, but I'm curious, like, has it been a little bit of a challenge mentally and physically where, say past springs, you've been in track mode and now you're kind of like, well, I'm doing my off season stuff that needs to get done for football, which again, does include strength and conditioning. Has it been a little bit of a challenge, or, do you try and, keep yourself in football mode, and then when you get on the track, you're in track mode, but, again, you're trying to adjust to the new weight? How is that transition been?
It's definitely been really interesting to kind of balance those two things. I have to do those K-State workouts, also have to do the track workouts, trying to make time for each one. Obviously being heavier and that makes me have to do some other workouts, just by myself, stuff I've just researched to kind of help me out. But it's kind of hard, especially this year. It's definitely a little bit harder to, stay focused on track, right? Obviously I have that big summer ahead of me and getting ready to move in next Monday. So it's all kind of been a little stressful, but I'm kind of doing my best job to to try and stay focused on track and do what I can.
Even while you're going through your high school seasons and sort of your spring seasons, K-State was going through spring ball. Did you have a chance to make it to Manhattan multiple times? And what was your preparation maybe like in terms of, hey, getting into the playbook or trying to understand sort of what they were teaching through the spring?
Yeah, only got to make it to the second practice of spring ball, and that was the only one I made, unfortunately. All the other ones I just was busy with some other stuff. But yeah, I loved my time there, loved being around the guys. Like, it just keeps making me feel better about my decision, because I'm honestly really just happy there. So that's good. But yeah, I've been doing meetings with Coach McGuire and Coach Wallace, doing signals and stuff like that. Like I've been kind of preparing myself all I can for when I get there in the summer, and especially once I get there, they also have a system set up for me. I'm not gonna have much of a break in the summer. Like it's gonna be pretty busy, but I think I'm gonna really enjoy it. Because that's really what I love to do. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, it's been an interesting process. Doing some meetings in school, meetings out of school. Kind of doing the best I can with all that stuff.
So, when you're a recruit, there's things that like even at the time that you sign, like I need to get better at this, or I need to get this part of my game ready to go for when I get on campus. But now that, you're so close to being on campus and you've had a chance to get up there in the spring, you've been through meetings and things, are some of those things different than they were? Or are they still kind of the same things you knew? Yeah, I need to get that ready for June and July and August and for fall camp.
Yeah, being in those meetings when I was a recruit, I made sure I did a good job of really observing how they go through things, what they talk about in the meeting rooms. So I kind of kept that same mindset, kept that same knowledge, and really worked on those things. But yeah, being there at the practice and like really getting to be around the tight end room doing their individual drills and stuff like that. Yeah, it definitely helped me, and learned, maybe these are some things I could do different. This is what I need to work on. And so, yeah, that was a big help to me.
Matt Wells is obviously a guy that recruited you quite a bit. Now he's the guy calling plays, and he was talking to you through the process probably about how he wanted to use you. What do you see that being like as a freshman? What do you think the plan is for maybe how he could utilize you? Obviously, I mean, he had some players kind of in your mold, I guess, if you will, at Texas Tech, using them almost as like a combination, like big slot / tight end type guy.
Yeah, that's kind of the message that he gave to me, was kind of be like sort of a hybrid, doing some tight end stuff, doing some receiver stuff in the slot, kind of all over wherever I can kind of help out. So that is the plan. But, obviously it's all up to me. I need to go to there in the summer and prove myself, and then maybe they can come up with some more stuff, or maybe not. So we'll kind of just have to see. But yeah, he's definitely got some interesting plans for me, and I'm excited for him.
Fans of any team are always buzzing this time of year. There's that excitement to get back into any kind of football news they can get, right? And obviously this season, with Avery coming back and so many other assets coming back, and now you coming in, there's palpable buzz around Manhattan and this team. Do you feel that, like when you were on campus for that one practice, when you're kind of going through meetings, do you feel like there's kind of a heightened sense of the players know the expectation? There's the bar is set high, and maybe it's a little bit different feeling around campus now?
Oh yeah. You can definitely tell when you're there, and especially just being around the guys like in that tight end room. And Coach Luke Wells talked about it all the time. When he talked about the tight end room, he said these guys, like, they love football. Like, they love doing this stuff. I walk in the meeting room, everybody's got their notepads out, ready to go. And he said, yeah, the focus is honestly insane. And I've heard that from a lot of other coaches. They said, this year's going to be a different year. And you can kind of feel that with all the players. Everybody's really, really locked in.
So I thought it might be kind of fun to ask you who would have more catches between you and Leighton this year, but I'm actually going to go with a little bit of a different angle. You see, Leighton completed a pass at Fort Hays State, and in Kansas, it has said that they've got a tight end pass in the playbook. Leighton has kind of joked in interviews that he's ready to throw that pass. You've thrown the ball a little bit at Goodland yourself. So I'll ask, by the time you both finish your college careers, knowing that he already has a completed pass, who's going to have completed more passes out of the tight end pass game?
I mean, last time I was a quarterback, I had to throw, but I guess I actually did. We had a Wildcat package in at Goodland this year, and I got to throw some there. And always in practice, I kind of mess around with my quarterback, throwing some deep balls here and there. But I don't know if I would trust myself enough to do that. Like if Coach Wells draws something up and we run it really, really well in practice, we'll see. But I'd honestly probably bet on Leighton that he'd have more than me. I think he's got a little bit better of an arm.
Again, like I know, you were probably in Leighton's ear during the recruiting process too, of, asking for advice and stuff. But again, it's different now that you're almost there, right? Like you're a member of the team, so to speak, even though you're not on campus. So what kind of things, again, are you asking him for advice on, from the standpoint of, hey, you've gone through the Big 12 now, like, what it's about? Are you still kind of in his ear for things that you can better yourself on, and little advice, even if it's maybe how to, handle the academic side of things? I mean, are you finding yourself kind of in his ear quite a bit?
Yeah. He brings a lot of good information, especially when we go work out. It's been a lot of fun to work out with him, and I'll ask him questions here and there. How do they do this differently? How do they do that? And he's a smart guy, so he always has really good answers for me, and it kind of clears things up. And maybe he tells me something, and I'm like, no, I kind of want to do that a little differently. But we always butt heads a little bit. But no, he's been a great help. But probably the most I've asked him about was probably the other day, just which classes I should take when I enroll, because he was kind of giving me some information on that and which one's the easiest to take. But it's been really good having him as a person to just ask questions and really see how college life is, how he goes about his hard work. And even the KU coaches that have said it themselves, they said it. I think Coach Leipold texted my dad one morning and said if our whole team was like Leighton, we'd be golden. And so that's like awesome to hear. And I'm like, I look up to him, so I was like, I really want to be that guy. So yeah.
Hey Kevin, real quick, I gotta ask Lincoln, like, do you guys have to have like locks on the iPad? It's like you got a playbook, he's got a playbook, two rival teams.
I was going to do one of my meetings the other day right here, and Leighton was there. He's like, you better go downstairs around.
That's great. Yeah, at K-State, you've got really good tight ends, but everybody seems to have kind of different strengths, right? Like Oakley is different than Will Ancio, and Will Ancio is different than you are. How often are you guys going to get in the coach's ears and say, hey, we got to get like 4 tight ends on the field at once this year?
I mean, yeah, that's the goal, because we all trust each other. But yeah, I mean, hopefully that doesn't make us too predictable if we're all good at like one thing, so the other team knows what's coming. But no, I think we're gonna do our work to become good at everything. But yeah, obviously, Garrett Oakley's really good at what he does. Will Ancio, he's good at what he does. Hopefully, I'll be good at something. But all the tools we bring, hopefully it helps us out a lot.
Is there anything non-football related that you're just kind of eager to be it or do at Kansas State?
I heard there's some good fish around there, so hopefully I want to go fishing. My grandpa gifted me a good tackle box for my birthday, so hopefully I get to use that a lot. But I'll try to golf a little bit, but I golfed today. That didn't go well. I got really mad and just left. So I mean, I don't know. I still got to work on some things. Probably just patience the most.
What's been maybe the hardest part preparing to go to K-State? Like, is it the terminology? Is it the playbook? Is it the physical stuff? Like what has it been at this point as you're getting ready to head up there?
Yeah, I'd probably say just all the studying I'd have to do on the playbook, because obviously it's a really widespread thing, and it's really different when you're running through it with your body physically with teammates, other than just looking at a paper and seeing what I'd have to do. So and I've talked about that with Will Ancio. He said a lot of it will click a lot easier when I'm at practice and running through it with all the other guys than just looking at a paper. But that's probably just been the hardest part.
The connection with Avery and the other quarterbacks as well, is that something that you're going to try, as much as you can, right, through like the what is it, player-led, not volunteer kind of stuff, but player-led stuff. I mean, are you going to be trying, begging Avery to kind of get out of his house and come up to the field to work on stuff in June?
Yeah, I'll be really eager to, get as much practice as I can with him and any other quarterbacks, really just being around those guys. Obviously my quarterback here in Goodland, he's good, but he's, probably not their level of arm. So, kind of just probably just getting used to that is the biggest thing I need to do.
You've been around the K-State program a lot over the last couple of years. How have you seen Avery kind of grow, from maybe where he was heading in as a first-year starter last year to where he was at this spring when you were out there?
Yeah, I can remember back to the practices before the season in fall camp and then seeing Avery at that spring practice. He just looks like all around just looks a lot better. And, obviously he had that great season that he did. And I think that's just, played a big role in just his development. But yeah, he looks great and you can tell.
What is, I'll finish kind of with this, but what's your one goal as an individual? If you could come out of this coming season happy with one thing that you accomplished, big or small, what kind of goal do you have set, or goals, I should say, that you have set for your freshman season?
Personal or team goals?
More personal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, whatever I can do as a true freshman to kind of help out the team. That's what I like to do. I haven't looked at any individual awards or anything like that. My biggest thing is just obviously to be in the playoffs. That would be awesome for K-State, the team, everything like that. But for me, honestly, my biggest goal is just making an impact somewhere.
For those of us, we've talked about this, I feel like, on the show before, but the coaches that you came down to in your final few schools are coaches that everybody describes as really genuine people. Can you just talk about Chris Kleiman for those people who maybe haven't met Chris Kleiman or don't know Chris Kleiman super well? Because I know that was one of the things that kind of drew you to him was the type of person that he was in addition to football coach.
Yeah, no, he's an amazing person. I don't even think I could really, describe how he actually is. He's kind of just a guy that you have to talk to and meet, but everything about him's awesome. Really great coach. Love being coached by him, especially, seeing him coach a practice and just being able to talk to him there. But him as a human being is his best attribute. He is just an amazing person overall. And I think that's just what really makes him special as a coach.
How about as a golfer?
He's really good. He's really good. When we went golfing, they kind of, I think they thought I was a little better than I actually was. But no, we had a great time. And I kind of like to brag. We did use a couple of my shots when me and him scrambled. We used a couple of my shots, especially on the putting green. I think Coach Kleiman's got a little work to do there, but no, it was a great time.
I lied. I do have one more for you, Lincoln, because I kind of forgot that even though you're not on campus yet, you will be obviously a member of this team that starts the season in Ireland. So how excited are you for that? And, how much of the family and friends are making the trip over there? Is that going to be the farthest trip that you've ever taken?
Oh yeah, that's definitely going to be the farthest trip I've ever taken. I haven't been on vacation in forever, so that'll be really cool. And honestly, Ireland, I've I kind of see it in some movies and stuff like that. I see pictures, and I remember back a couple of years ago, I was like, wow, I really want to go to Ireland someday. And then I saw that K-State posted that, and I was like, wow, that would be really cool to play in that game. So yeah, having the opportunity to do that, that's going to be a lot of fun. And just that I think, I'm not sure how many days we'll be there, but I think that'll just be a really fun experience with all my teammates. But yeah, I think my grandparents are definitely going. I think my parents and maybe some other family, I'm not sure, but I know a lot of people that are going to make the trip, and they're going to have a lot of fun. So yeah, it'll be a good experience.
I was going to say, with you guys being sort of a Catholic family, I would think that would be a fun trip for the whole bunch of you.
Yeah, it will be a lot of fun. And I think my grandparents found out that I think the Cure side originated from Ireland, so they're going to go and try and find some families. So that'll be a fun trip for them.
Sounds awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us, Lincoln, and thanks to all of you for watching and following along with the Verbal Commitment podcast here on KCSN. If you enjoyed watching or listening to us, leave us a comment, like this video, subscribe here on YouTube, or hit us with a 5-star rating if you're listening on an audio platform. And until next time, we'll see you on the trail, and take care.